Featherweight prospect, Vince Murdock. Thank you, Vince, man, for the time. Man, you've been through a lot in the last, not even year, man, the last 3 years. You know, ever since I first interviewed you, I don't even know, way back when, you've been through, a lot of roller coasters, and just happy to see you, man, set to fight again. How you feeling?
Happy to be back. I feel great, better than I have in years. So excited to just get back in there.
I want to start, mid-November 2019. You had the brain surgery. Talk about some of the milestones that, you had to reach throughout your recovery, and how that impacted you mentally.
A lot of it was never like clear that I'd be able to compete again. It was just kind of an idea. And obviously I kept, holding on to that. First thing first was like I needed to focus on recovery and making sure that I did everything in my power to make sure that the graft was healing and making sure the blood flow, like I was doing things correctly to have a strong comeback. So when I went and seen the doctor, that he would have an easier time trying to clear me. So, so it just started, kind of like right at that moment, waking up from the surgery. All I could think about was just trying to get back and what steps I could take to speed up my recovery, or just make sure it was at the forefront of everything that I was doing. And in that time, I picked up cycling and among other things, and kind of just refocused on, my goals, and kind of reinvented myself in the fight game, and kind of made a new all-around commitment to fighting.
Those doctor's visits throughout the last year, were they really nerve-wracking, or were you really positive entering those visits?
I was always really confident, just because I just believed that, I was really confident in my health, and that I was constantly feeling better and getting better. That, I just kept thinking to myself, they would have to prove that I'm unfit, and I don't know how they could do that at that point and at those moments. So I was always pretty confident. And the doctor that performed the surgery, he was pretty confident. Ideally, I was more nervous about the UFC just not giving me the go-ahead, because ultimately it comes down to them. And luckily, they spoke with my surgeon and back and forth and vice versa, and they were cool with it.
All right. Now, when did you actually get back into training, and what did you start with?
You know what, man? To be honest, I left the hospital the day after my surgery, which is not recommended. I was supposed to be there for 2 weeks. But, it was really like doing my head in, being in that bed, and I made a couple wagers with the nurses and stuff. And I asked them where did my vitals have to be? What are the necessary steps I needed to take to get out of it, to go home? And I passed all of those, and basically I left surgery within 24 hours of waking up from an 11-hour brain surgery. And then, that was on a Friday. I went into surgery on a Wednesday, woke up on a Thursday, left the hospital on a Friday. I was in the gym Monday. Again, these are all things I probably shouldn't have done, but it was just hard to stay away, especially when you're recovering. You kind of just get a lot of time to yourself, and I just wanted to be around people and the sport that I love so much, so I would constantly find myself at the gym. But I was back in the gym, messing around on the mats, just kind of shadow boxing. I have footage of all of it too. So I was this fucking guy. Yeah, it's much better. Thanks, Cody. Appreciate it, bro. So I was pretty much in the gym, trying to reinvent myself, and almost immediately. I can't really know how else to explain it, but from the second I was given the opportunity to, walk, and, I ran into quite a bit of trouble coming back too early. I ended up, losing my vision and creating a stutter and some of these other things that come with having brain surgery. But I just stayed consistent, and the second I was able to leave, I was kind of like back focusing on ways to be a better athlete and kind of refocusing my efforts on being a better athlete like right away, and planning out what a great recovery would look like, and whether that's like food, dieting, activity, being active, or what I could do.
Losing your vision, man, that must have been some scary shit right there.
Yeah, yeah. So it started from the top, like, so you know how your field of vision,
Mm.
like you see like the ceiling right now. So it started to narrow and narrow and narrow until like it got to like a pinnacle of just like like a little point. And the it wasn't too scary because I basically had the ability to, like, I had nurses that were assigned to me, or like people that I could speak with like urgently. And as it started to go, they were just like, hey, a lot of these things are normal. Don't worry if they, basically, they just made me feel like, hey, like, a lot of things could happen. I mean, and a lot of things didn't, some people have brain bleeds, some people have hemorrhages, some people, they lose their ability to speak. Not that they don't know how to speak, they just lose the ability, the part of their brain that tells them how to talk, even though they know how to do it. So in reality, I that was kind of like the biggest thing that I experienced, was kind of like losing my vision for maybe 24 hours or so. And then I kind of snapped out of it, and had a couple massive headaches that I went into the ER for because they were massive. But other than that, it was pretty smooth. I knew I was aware of what had just happened, and I just took it as like, did you just send me something and unsend it? Okay, sorry. um, yeah, so I mean, I knew that I just had brain surgery, and I knew like I was in for a rough road ahead, and I was happy to take it on, to be honest.
All right. Now, when were you able to get back into sparring? I think that's the big question.
I did a lot of my own research. Again, you know, I did a lot of things early that I probably shouldn't have. I researched how fast the skull recovers and heals and bones and stuff like that. Your skull is supposed to recover 8 to 12 weeks completely, which I found very fascinating, and was really happy to hear. So I started playing around with the idea of moving around with people pretty early on, probably right about 8 to 12 weeks. 3 month mark, I was in there. I wasn't cleared to be on the mats for 6 months, but I was very honest with my surgeon and let him know ahead of time that, like, hey, I feel good. I'm going to start testing the waters. And that's just something I did on my own. I was constantly testing my abilities, and was just always taken back on how the recovery was going. I could just feel myself getting better, getting stronger, getting faster. And so I just started pushing my limits, like early on, probably like I said, the first week or two when I was like shadowboxing. I was telling you, I started hitting mitts and stuff. I would lose like the lower half of my body. Like I couldn't feel it. And that's like a sign of obviously having a stroke. But it was just one of those things that I was like, my body was getting used to, and like my legs were just like numb. They were there, but I couldn't really feel them, if that makes sense. So those are like some of the things that I was just kind of dealing with that were probably a bit weird. But yeah, I came back much earlier than I should. And but I was cleared at 6 months, and then from there on, I was still just going just as hard and working as hard as I could.
The last year I would scroll through, I think, Facebook, and I would see you on the bike, man,
Oh
constantly
yeah, oh
cycling,
yeah,
and you look like one of the guys from the Tour de France, you know,
yeah.
the numbers you were putting up. How has that benefited you throughout this year?
Just 2020 in general. Like I originally kind of found cycling as obviously like when I was waiting to get cleared, there was only so much I could really, like, I couldn't really grapple too much yet, and I couldn't really get choked yet because the graft was still healing. So like I was always just trying to find another way to push myself, and cycling has always kind of intrigued me. And Ended up just getting on a bike and never getting off, to be honest. My first ride, it was 40 miles, 50, like 5 miles, and then 80, like boom, 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 right. And they were all right next to each other 3 days in a row. I hit like 200 miles in like 3 days. And then, and it was taxing, but like, it was just something that I saw that I knew I could push myself. I enjoyed being outside. And it was just a lot of fun, man. And then ever since then, I literally just hit 7,000 miles for the year before I came out here. So I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah, cycling is just something that I picked up as a tool for recovery to push my body, get the blood flowing, pushing blood to my head and my brain and stuff. And it's been, I'm obsessed. I like it.
Less than a year after brain surgery, you're stepping back into the cage for the Contender series. What are the emotions like this fight week? Is it different from any other fight week?
Yeah, man. It's weird. I feel like, you know what I mean? I was always confident in my ability before the brain surgery. I'm just even more confident now. And, I'm just excited. In honesty, it kind of feels like my first fight all over again. Like, that's the kind of excitement that I'm experiencing right now. Like, as if, like, it's my first time in there, and which is pretty exciting. I am nervous, but I don't think it's nerves as much as it is excitement. The ultimate goal for me was just to be able to make it back to competing. So I've kind of already done that, and now I'm just excited to go in there and see, like, the progression that I've made and really put, see the adversities at work.
Luis Saldana, have you looked him up? Have you studied him, or are you just going in here like,
I
hey,
don't
it's
know.
a fight?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been too much into. I don't like them to take too much space up in my head. I know he's tall, and yeah, that's about all I know, to be honest. He's tall, and that's that goes for every single person I've ever fought is probably taller than me. But I don't know much about him. I'm sure he's game. He's going to show up to fight. That's great. And that's what it is. I don't know much about him. It looks like he's a solid grappler as well, but he didn't have much on him to look at anyway. So it's all good. I'm excited. He's a good opponent for me to come back to, in my opinion.
Everything, in mixed martial arts or in this sport comes in waves. Team Alpha Male, they're resurging again. You were part of the last, I kind of could say generation, but now you're emerging in the newer phase or newer generation. Is that kind of a weird position to be in?
Yeah, it's interesting because I was there when it was like the core group of guys was Joseph and Danny and Chad and TJ, and there's a few others and stuff, and Uriah was like back in the mix heavily, and I mean there were so many people that came through, and it does seem weird because like I always kind of thought that I was going to tag on to a group like that, and now they're kind of all in their own things. Danny's retired, Chad's retired, Joseph's moved, TJ's gone, and Uriah's, you never know if he's retiring or fighting, but and then now there's this new age, right? We got Feely, Emmett, and just a new group of guys. And, I would say it's weird because I've definitely been with both groups. But I guess this wave makes more sense for me, to be honest. But it's all good, man. Been around a long time.
How do you see yourself winning this contract, man? I feel like you win, man. You're going to get it.
Thank you. Yeah, I just see myself win it in some sort of extraordinary way. I don't know what it is, but I was brought up to be fashionable and exciting, and that's just how I'll look to finish. I'm definitely going to look to finish, hopefully pretty early on. And I want to make a statement, you know what I mean? So we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited, man.
All right, one last thing before I let you go. There's many different types of competitors and characters in this sport. Would you consider yourself more of a martial artist or a prize fighter at this moment of your career?
Man, I would say more of a martial artist. Obviously, I want to make the money, but we're not. I'm doing it purely because more so because I enjoy competing and having the health and ability to compete. I'm not driven by the dollar or the money sign. I'm driven by my support system and being an inspiration to others and inspiring to do what I was told I couldn't. So yeah, I would say more of a martial artist in the sense that I compete just purely out of for myself and my ability to do that and my health to do that.
All right, man. November 4th, Dana White's Contender Series, Vince Murdock 2.0. You could really say it, man.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah, 2.0. That's
All
right.
right, man.